Hey y'all, I'm Matt. I'm a photographer, videographer here in the United States. Recently moved into a new studio space. And on this video, I'm gonna show you one thing that I'm learning and working with. I mentioned I'm using a light gray background a lot. And one of the reasons is that can be brought into Photoshop and I can make that light gray different colors if I want to go a little more monochromatic based on clothing and apparel, which I'm doing a lot of that work here now. I use quite a bit a lighting technique that is kind of a take on one of the great photographers out there, and Ian Spanier, who has the Spanier stack with a big umbrella modifier that is a key light paired with a smaller, in his case, umbrella modifier that is a fill light, and then controlling with a light meter very specifically those ratios, if it's a 2-stop difference or 3-stop difference. I just found in my work, especially doing a lot of 3/4 length and sometimes full body for apparel and clothing stores, but also portrait work that is even tighter than that, medium shots and that kind of thing. I found that I really do like the 2-stop difference, sometimes 3, but most of the time 2-stop difference with a fill light that's sort of kind of filling things in and filling in some shadows, and then that key light 2 stops brighter that is really illuminating the face and kind of exactly what it is I want to highlight in those shots. So that's what we have in here, is a version of that key light, which is a large white 60-inch umbrella. For a fill, separated, not on the same stand because I move things around in here and do things differently. There's just a 34-inch beauty dish underneath that it's a white beauty dish that I'm bouncing light up in there as the fill. Use my light meter to meter that key in that fill. Key at F8, so therefore 2 stops under, I want the fill light at F4. And I'll show you some of that as I talk about it here. And once I meter those two, I get, that I want the 2-stop ratio with F8 on the key and F4 on the fill. What I do on that light gray background is I give myself the option to then, by switching on, one set of lights, just one button on the trigger on my camera, I can now blast the background, that gray background, and have a shot with a white background as well. What I have are 2 other strobes that are matched, and I've got 1x3 strip boxes on each. And I used to leave the diffusion on. I've gotten to where lately I take the diffusion off on the strip boxes and just fire them into the background. But I meter that somewhere between F11 and F16. So like typically, if it were 2 stops above the key light, if the key light's at F8, that would mean I want the whole background to meter at F16. I found that I don't necessarily have to have it all at F16, but I want it more than 1 stop. I'm somewhere between F11 and F16. So again, to make it make sense, I'm metering that key light at F8. So I want that background to meter somewhere between F11 and F16, pretty much all over the background. I'll measure it in different spots and fire that away. And once I get that, then I'm ready to go. I also, for some clients, I will use a separation light, a hair light, rim light, whatever you want to call it, that's coming over the top of the background. I meter that behind my head, and I get that the same as the fill at F4. Just because, and sometimes even a little less, just because anything that's reflected off hair it's twice as bright as what you meter. So if my key is at F8, I want that separation down around F4 and no brighter than that, because it's actually going to match the key because of the way the light reflects. So all of that to say, once it's metered, then I can do this, and I'll use myself here as a model. I don't have anybody else here today, but I'll sit in, and then what I can do is, without changing camera settings or anything like that, we can fire away and get that gray, simple gray backdrop with a very well lit and kind of controlling the tones, shadow to mid to highlights, so that I have some of each. It's not a flat lighting, which I don't want flat. And I can, take photos with that gray. But then by making one move, and that is on my trigger on my camera. All I've got to do then is turn on those background lights that are illuminating the background. Everything is the same, model position the same, key and fill the same, and now I can just fire away, and now I've got a clean white background, and it's that simple. Just by one press of a button on my trigger, I'm able to do that. I found that it's a real advantage when you have a short time to work with. Let's say, you know, I'm above a clothing department store and I work with them, and they may send a model with a particular jacket or a top or something like that, and we want to get a few looks and want to do it really quickly. I can do that this way, where we shoot on gray. We've got shadow, mid, highlight, we're not flat. And then I can click one button on the trigger, and now I'm firing on that background. I can shoot with a white, pure white background as well. And I don't have to do very much, if at all, in post on the background. Maybe that helps you. It's just one technique. If you have any questions, let me know. Maybe not the best explanation, and I appreciate your comments, and I'll see you on the next one.